Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. So this video is going to be about the March 2022 layout update. Now I do one of these every month. I try to get it out as early as I can if I can get everything in the video and edit it in the time that's needed. But in today's video we're just going to be talking about new track work, new locomotives, new rolling stock, basically all the new equipment, all the track work that's been going on, and just some new things. So you guys might be wondering what this is. This is a Bachmann PCC trolley. So quick little history on this. This is not a new thing. I got this 10 years ago, believe it or not. And I found this a year ago in one of my cabinets, and I was absolutely shocked that I found this thing. And I didn't have a track or anything to run with at the time. I just had the model that I was carrying around all the time. Makes sense why the antenna's gone, because I probably broke it while playing with my Legos with it. But this has still got a lot of character to it. You can see I improved the lighting system just a bit by adding another light bulb. And this thing hadn't run in like over 9 years, so when I threw it on some Bachmann Easy Track when I still had my starter set, and this thing kicked up right to life, I was absolutely amazed. I couldn't believe I found my childhood toy and it actually ran. So that's pretty nice. And these things aren't actually pancake motors, they're like actually good motors that are in it. Of course, it's only 4-wheel pickup on the back for the motor and 4-wheel for the front. But, you know, what do you expect? It's from Bachmann 10 years ago, pretty vintage Bachmann. But I was just amazed that I found this thing and it actually still runs. Of course, I've done a bit of modifications to it, like adding some new oil in it, changing the lights, but overall, I really like this thing and I'm glad I found it. So this is the first of the 3 new locomotives that I got this month. This is a Scale Trains Operator CN ET44AC, which I got from the Kitchener Model Train Show. Now this thing is DCC equipped, as you can see. Beautiful, love this model. It's got flashing ditch lights, which is pretty rare on some models. You don't see that a lot. And the detail on this thing isn't amazing. I'm gonna have to do a lot of extra detail, like all these molded on grab irons. I've got to put new ones on since it's an operator, it doesn't come stock with them. But that's alright. I got this thing for a really good deal, DCC and Sound, for $125 at the train show. Unbelievable. Thank you to the guy who sold me this. So, I got a few other locomotives at the Kitchener Model Train Show, and I'll show them right now. Next up on the list of our new locomotives to join the layout is this Bowser CP Rail SD40-2F. So, like the CN locomotive, I also got this at the Kitchener Model Train Show. This locomotive, just like the other one, I got from the same guy, and he was selling this for $125, believe it or not. So, this was a DCC and Sound locomotive. Bowser makes really good models. I highly recommend Bowser if you guys are looking for DCC sound engines. So, this thing is awesome. Ever since I got it out of the box, it runs amazingly. I've had to do very little to this thing to make it run other than changing the decoder address to its respective destination. And this thing sounds amazing too. Now I don't want to deafen you guys with the prime mover, as you guys might have seen in my testing switches, the powered switches layout video. That one I used my CN locomotive, the one that I just showed earlier, and it was sound deafening. That thing was just way too loud. I wish I had turned the sound off before talking about what I'd done to the switches, but I hope you guys could still hear me over the locomotive sound. And the last locomotive that I got is a CN GP9, which I'll show right now. So right here is the third and final locomotive that I got from the Kitchener Model Train Show. And this is an Athearn Blue Box CN GP9. As you can see, most of the handrails are not on. They all came in the box, and I will install them eventually. But I just couldn't resist this offer. The guy was selling it for $25. It's been in the box, never run before. And this thing just needed a bit of oil, and it kicked up right to life. Like a 50-year-old engine that just started right up. That's how reliable these things are. So if you're looking for a cheap locomotive with not an amazing level of detail, still got pretty decent detail, as you can see here on the roof, these things are what you should get. Now, if you go to the train shows, try your best to deal the guy down. The seller will most likely give it to you for a lower price. As for this one, they're selling it for $25, but I managed to get it for $20. Do a bit of negotiating. Sometimes they will not budge, but most of the times they will give you it for a lower price. And this thing runs pretty well. I had to do some adjustments to it just to make it run better, but other than that, it's a fine runner, and it's actually a lot quieter than I thought it would be. This month, there weren't too many new freight cars. Actually, quite frankly, there are only 2 new freight cars to go in the layout. First off is this PRR rock hopper. Now, I found this at my local hobby shop in the consignment section. I don't know why they put this there. This seems like a really nice piece. There was also a lot of other nice freight cars in the consignment bins. I just don't know why they put that there. Like, there was clearly some room on the glass shelves where they display some of the nicer rolling stock used ones. This should have definitely been there. This was an amazing piece. I can't believe I found this one. Check this out. You've got metal couplers here, brake wheel separately applied, and this rock load is amazing. Someone must have put a lot of effort into that, and the weathering on the side too. Now the second car that I got is this Walther's CGTX tanker. Like most of my locomotives, I also got this at the train show. I got this for $10 from a very kind vendor that was very nice and willing to negotiate. Although I didn't negotiate on this one since I thought it was already pretty cheap. $10 for a tanker, a Walther's one. Not bad, you can't really go wrong with Walther's. They're pretty good for the price. And the detail on this is pretty minimal, not the best, but you know, for $10, it's pretty good. Now, during the time that I was showing all those locomotives and freight cars, you might have noticed that this hill is all covered up in grass. So I did work on the scenery just a bit. I put some grass over here. I'll definitely do some more to it, like some blended turf and maybe some clump foliage. I've already started a bit here. And you can still see some pink foam here. I will cover them up with gray paint. I'm going to try and model some rocks here on some of these parts. And you've also noticed that I got 2 trees here. These are at my local hobby shop. I got them $7 for both of them. They do look really nice. They were used, but I think someone did a really good job with these. You can see how nice this birch trunk is and this oak tree here. It's pretty nice, and they did a really good job with the foliage too. I will probably try and do this with all my clump foliage that I have upstairs. But for now, this is what's happening. And if we move down here a bit, you can also see the road. It leads to nowhere, but I'm making progress on it. So I used Woodland Scenic Smooth It. I used a decent amount. And I took this crossing board apart here because it was causing some problems. But I also used Osborne Model Kit's crossing gates for these 2. I'll use another one right here and continue it there, but I'm not quite done with changing the scenery here a bit yet. So basically I just built it up to level and I sanded the top down. Sides are not sanded down yet since I didn't have time for those yet, but they will be. So in one of my latest videos, I talked about electrifying Pico switches. I replaced all the Atlas switches on the main lines, with the exception of 2 of them, with these Pico isolated switches. I did convert them all to electro switches. If you want to go check that video, the card's up there. But you can check that out after I'm done with this video, so stick around. And if we just move around to the back here, you can see I did quite a lot of work with all the cork. You can see the cork runs all the way down there. And I did quite a bit of work with the freight yard here. As you can see, I'm getting started with the yard. I've already got a few tracks in. I've got a few spear switches here, which I'll use. Those are brass switches. Do not use brass switches on your main lines, please don't. They will cause so many problems down the road. For places where you won't run locomotives, use brass switches. They're cheap. They're good for building yards where you won't run locomotives like back here. So I got the cork laid down. I had to actually rip out the track because of a problem that was in the track. So the cork's not really soft anymore. There's this hard layer of glue on it, but I hope it will still do the job of dampening the sound. You may have noticed I put a Caboose industry switch here. This is a ground tool that I ripped out from the part where I had it earlier on the front of the layout, since I replaced it with a Pico switch that already snaps into place. Now, if you're using these Atlas switches here, which don't snap into place, they used to, but they have a giant switch box on the side which looks horrible, and it just makes everything bad. Definitely get one of these things. They're so easy to install. I just simply took a paper clip and ran it there, bent it from here. I made like a hook shape like that and ran it across, and another hook shape on the other side, and super glued them both in. You want to make sure these things are very secure so you're not actually moving the throw push back and forth. You're moving them when it's stayed in place, and the track won't move at all. See, the track's in a fairly good place, and the switch stays in place too when I move the ground through. You can also see how the mechanism works. I bent it over here, so when I switch it, it pushes in and out. And the other paper clip, the side of it, is glued down to the track here. So that's just a quick tip on using the Caboose Industry ground throws. And if we just come back over here to the front of the layout, you can see all the progress that I've done in March 2022. This is the March 2022 layout update. If you haven't already, go subscribe down below, like the video, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of the layout, or just say, hey, great video. Everything's appreciated here. With that being said, I wish you all a wonderful day.